Let's talk about some of the tools that are available to us in the viewer while we're viewing scans that go beyond some of the very basics that we showed you in the last lecture. So I have an MR session open in my XNAT right now, and it's got a few things in here that are going to make it easy for us to demonstrate a few of these tools. So one thing that's super cool right off the bat is the ability to auto-play or auto-scroll a given session. You can control that by using this play and stop button that's up here on the left. And this actually works for synced scans as well. This works well if you have two scans that are captured on similar parameters. In this case, we have two from the same session. This would also be useful in comparing longitudinal sessions. And our next couple of demos are actually going to focus on a longitudinal scenario. So in addition to this play and stop control, there's also another mode here called Cine, which gives you even more refinement in terms of how fast or how slow this playback goes. And you can see here we've got little arrows up and down on these things, on this command, as well as over here in our in this part of the menu. This just advances the scan. So if you want to load the next scan, I'm not sure how useful that is. You can just click and drag the thumbnails just as easily. And then you can you have additional tools for zooming in. I think I showed some of these. You can adjust the levels, the contrast in your scan by using this levels tool and then clicking and dragging on the scan. And you can use this pan tool to move your scan around. Now there may be times when you get a scan and it's not readily apparent what you're looking at. The pixel data is very dark or dim. Levels only helps you so much, or maybe not at all. It might help to invert the scan. You can see a little bit more of a shadow there of scan data. But what can be really helpful in a situation like this is this ROI window tool. And what this does is it lets you select an area, and then it automatically rebalances the light and dark in your scan according to that area. So you could even select just a subset of the brain here, and or subset of the image, and get a very customized light and dark mix. And then if you want to return back to the way you had, the way the scan natively was, you can use this reset button. And that resets all of your view controls. So if you've zoomed in, it will zoom you out. If you have panned to the left or right, it will pan back to the center. All right, now I'm going to switch to a CT scan and demonstrate a couple more of these tools. So I have a whole body CT scan here, which are always kind of cool to look at. But we can stop the play here. And I'm going to show you another tool here that's useful in segmentation or pixel painting. We've got a demo on that later. But for the time being, I want to show you this probe tool. But first, let's look at magnify, because this is actually just really fun to play with. You can zoom in on this pixel data without losing the zoom level of your scan. But getting back to our probe tool, I'm just going to zoom in here and bring this over here. What this does as you click and drag is give you some measurements on the pixel data that you're clicking on. So the two top numbers, 366, 191, refer to your X and Y coordinates in terms of looking at the in terms of where you are in the image data. And then I'm not actually sure what SP and MO stand for. I couldn't find documentation on that. But the MO refers to, appears to refer to what's known as Hounsfield units, which is something that in our Smart CT segmentation, we have a series of numbers here that describe pixel intensity. Don't worry too much about that for the moment. We are going to do a whole unit on segmentation, and we'll get into explaining those numbers and how to use them. But I just thought it was useful to point out how this probe tool gives you some detail there. Another useful tool in this toolbox is something that allows you to fix scanner orientation. So in other words, was this person sitting in the scanner scanned front to back? If when I'm looking at the left side of the scan, is that the left side of the person? Or does it need to be flipped? We've got tools here in the More menu that allow you to flip a scan left or right, horizontally or vertically, I should say. I don't know how often you would need to flip someone vertically, but you never know. And you can also rotate the image around left or right using these tools here. So these are some of the tools and features that go beyond the basics and are geared towards helping a radiology workflow in terms of making it easier to see what you're doing and do what you're doing.